Hi there, welcome back to a new chatty video.
Yeah, hi there.
Today we are going to be talking about all the things that we've enjoyed doing off-site over the last few years.
Yeah.
It's not always just about the parks, whether you're doing a trip going to the parks, sometimes you want to take a break from the parks, but sometimes there's times when you're not going to the parks at all.
It could be you're not staying near the parks.
You're having a park-free holiday. There's a lot more people doing that these days, I think, with parks becoming so expensive.
Yeah, we're hearing so many people are actually, should we say, ditching the tickets for Disney, and even sometimes possibly maybe Universal, and just finding other things to do. They just want to go.
There's a lot to do, isn't there?
And there's still a lot to do out there. So
Yep.
I think we're going to kind of discuss some of the favourite things we've done over the years. Some we haven't done for a long time. Some we might have done quite recently.
And also some of the things that we've done and not overly enjoyed. We thought we'd talk about things from both sides. The other thing I wanted to add, because I know obviously you guys know us from this YouTube channel, and we've always been going to Disney since we've had this channel, which isn't quite 2 years old yet.
Yeah.
But before that, we've always been off-siters. So we've been going to Florida together as a family since 2007, and all that time up until 2019, that was our first week on site.
Yeah, we had stayed on site for a few days in 2017.
5 nights, yeah.
But prior to that, yeah, it was all off site.
Yeah, so we've spent a lot of time off site, haven't we?
And doing off site things as well, and also not just Disney. I think I remember our first trip was we literally spent maybe a day in each park, didn't we?
So yeah, we've got a lot of experience with being off-site, so we thought we would share some of that with you.
And I think some of these things here are things that we maybe have planned in our trips to actually do. So right, okay, we really want to do that. We plan and booked, and some of these things you do need to book in advance, and some of them you can kind of just turn up. So we've kind of had them almost like at the back of our mind that if something changed, it could be weather, and we realise there's something that we could do inside, as an example. We don't want to go to the park, we go and do this instead.
We always do an itinerary, so there's always like plan B options.
Yeah, and there's some things we still haven't done yet. So
we'll talk about those as well.
It doesn't always mean you get everything done, and there's still things on the list that we want to do on future trips.
Right, we're going to start with shopping, because that seems to be an obvious one when you're going to Orlando. Most people have a shopping list. Most people want to go, whether it be to the outlets, to the malls. There's lots and lots of shopping. Disney Springs. We kind of our shopping has got less and less over the years, hasn't it? But we used to factor in like a shopping day. It's now become one of those things where we kind of fit it in around the parks. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think that's about right. We might do like a bit of a morning or an afternoon or an evening, or if we want a break from the park. Yeah,
that's true. We used to, when the kids were younger, we used to actually almost plan a bit of a day. We used to go over to Altamont Mall, didn't we? That was one of our favourite malls. Also, Winter Park, that was another favourite area. Something we did in June with our trip with our son and his girlfriend, we kind of switched our days around a little bit. We were forecast a really rainy day, and that became our shopping day. We went out for brunch in IHOP, and then we went on to the outlets, and then we went on to Target, didn't we? And we did some of those stores around the what's it called? Ran by Target. Oak. My mind's gone blank.
I can't remember what it's called now. But that meant that also then freed up, because we'd done that, so that then another day when the weather was better, it didn't kind of interrupt our days that we then, or the day we then missed, if you see what I mean. So
I do suggest trying to avoid the malls and the outlets at weekends. It gets busier, and I've heard as well that especially the outlets, they up the prices at weekends, don't they?
Yeah, we've heard that. I mean, we don't
know if it's true, but
a load of shopping, so we wouldn't know.
But let us know if you've heard that as well, and if you think it's true. And there's certain days, I know some people want to go to the Disney character warehouse at the mall, at the outlets on particular days because they have more stock arrive.
I don't know when that is, but we've been there before, and they've said, "Oh, we're expecting stock the next day," and they expect it to be busy. So I don't know.
Shopping is definitely a good activity to do on a rainy day. Right, go on. I'll let you choose one.
Oh,
which one? We've got a big list in front of us.
I actually think I'd like to talk about the actual national parks.
I thought you would say that,
because we've done. Not just Orlando, but other national parks in the States. But we'll just talk about Orlando this time.
Yeah.
This was our first time of, should we say, properly doing the parks, and we did 2 or 3 this trip. Yeah, so we, in an upcoming video, I think it's next week actually, we went to Silver Springs. and we actually did glass bottom kayaking.
Or clear kayaks.
Or clear
I
kayaking.
keep calling them glass
but
kayaks,
they're not
but they're
glass,
clear.
they're plastic, they're clear. Clear kayaking. So that was actually at Silver Springs. You don't have to do the kayaking, there's plenty of place to walk, but watch the video on Wednesday, you'll find out more about that.
Yeah, because I was going to say that actually. I kind of like advertised the video, the thumbnail as clear kayaks, but actually we get out and walk around. One of our friends, when we were there, she's got a daughter in a wheelchair, asked if you can get around on a wheelchair. So that was one of our tasks actually, to find
Just
out
have a
how
look around.
accessible it was. So yeah, we cover that in the vlog as
We
well.
also went to Blue Springs as well. We met up with your dad, didn't we? Later in the trip as well. We just drove there to kind of have a look. Again, it was somewhere for a wander,
Just about an hour
a drink, that type of thing. But then another time we actually went on the way to. We weren't actually going to NASA, but it was Cape Canaveral. And is it Cape Canaveral National?
It's the
What's it called?
Seashore National. I can't remember. I'll leave a link to the vlog below.
Had to pay to go in, similar to some of the West Coast ones we've done.
Yeah.
And you could drive around, and there were places that you could stop off, and it was right by the beach. And you could just spend as much time as you want there. And I think the national parks
And when you pay, I think that covers you for 7 days as well, doesn't it?
It does,
Yeah.
and some of them cover you for more than just one as well. So, but check that where you go. But I think visiting some of the national parks are really good, and also you could incorporate that into other parts of your day. For example, we did go near Cape Canaveral, so if you're tight on time, like you've maybe got a 2-week trip and you just want the one day, you're planning to go to Kennedy Space Center, you could maybe pop on the way home or the way there. So just look at these things, because it is possible to sort of maybe jig your plans around. You may not spend huge amounts of time there, but
true.
definitely worth maybe having a look into. But the national parks, quite fascinating as well. I think the springs, there's a lot of springs in Florida.
Well, the other thing is as well that it's a really affordable way to do another activity. If you're wanting a break from the parks, let's take Blue Springs, for example. We didn't pay anything to... Oh,
We did.
we paid to go in. Was it $7
It was about
each?
$6 or $7 per car.
Yeah. And Silver Springs, which is an hour and a half from Disney, that was $2 each to go in.
$2 per person. So
You
you
can
parked up,
spend
you
as
went
much-
to go, and you can understand that, because they
Well,
obviously
it's
need
for the
money
upkeep,
to
isn't
upkeep.
it?
Yeah.
But I mean, it was spotless. There was bathrooms, toilets, little shops. You could get like snacks and
And I
that.
think also at Silver Springs, we didn't do it. There was admission to go into. There was the main gate, so you didn't have to do the tours. They do the big, almost like riverboat
Glass
type
bottom
tour
boats.
as well. But you could actually then go into that part of the park as well, and there
Yeah.
was admission for that.
That
So
was
we didn't do
$2
that.
each as well.
Was that one as well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we did it around the back entrance because of where we were with
But
the
have a look. We
kayaks.
obviously there's probably lots of others.
But there's different activities as well. So you can do kayaking, you can do tubing, you can swim with the manatees. Different times of year, they have different things
They
going
allow
on.
different things, don't they?
Just go and have a walk. We saw so much
Hmm.
wildlife, didn't we? Between them all, we've seen wild monkeys, manatees, gators,
Turtles.
armadillo,
Yes. Turtle.
turtles. Yeah, it's just amazing.
I think the other thing to mention as well is the fact it's not necessarily the Everglades. Not talking about national parks here, but we looked at going on. Oh, what do they call them? Where you go, not the waterways, but you can drive.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. I can't think what it's called, where you see all the gators and that.
Yeah, and you can
Yeah.
go. It almost like can take you 2 or 3 hours to drive around. You've got to
Yeah.
keep the speed limit.
There
are those areas as well. Now they're not national parks, but there's other things like that are quite good.
Close to Disney as
Yeah,
well.
we like being outside, especially when we're there. We do like things like, say, museums and places like that, but maybe if it's relative to where you're going. So, like, for example, if it's just a generic National History Museum, we wouldn't
fussed.
possibly be fussed. Whereas if we went to the Titanic exhibition, that was interesting. So,
Yeah.
or for us anyway. But I
Yeah.
think we like being outside, so there's lots of different activities that we can do. Do you want to choose one?
Okay, I am going to choose Celebration. I think that's my favourite off-site place when we're in Disney. I love it
What makes it
there.
your favourite?
I just feel so relaxed. Again, it's being outside. I love being outside, whether we're grabbing a Coke float or an ice cream and just wandering around. You can grab a Starbucks.
Or that sandwich.
Yeah,
Or
we
that
had
roll.
a really good deli sandwich, or just having brunch there, and then just having a really nice walk, seeing the beautiful houses. It's almost like you're being transported. You're, a 10-minute drive from Disney, but you just feel like you're in a completely different place and you forget about everything. I love it.
It's something, again, you can do if you've got a couple of hours. You can spend longer there, but even if you've got a couple of hours, you can grab a drink
You think about
and then you're going
it.
to go for a wander.
On our last day last time, again, we've got this coming up in a vlog, we kind of were ready to leave Magic Kingdom. We wanted lunch, and you suggested, let's just drive to Celebration. We were staying on site in Disney, and we just drove 10 minutes to Celebration. We got a deli sandwich, we sat outside,
was
had
lovely.
a bit of a wander, and then we were back at Disney. And we were literally just gone from Disney for a couple of hours. And we just felt like we'd escaped it was just escaping the bubble. It was just what we needed.
I mean, I know we're talking about things to do off-site, so of course it could be you are staying on site and you want to escape and go off-site, or it could be you're off-site already.
You can even get an Uber to these places when you think it's 10 minutes from Disney.
Yeah. No, I do. I love Celebration
You
as
do
well.
too, don't
Yeah,
you?
it's nice.
Which one are you going to pick?
I might pick that one.
I wondered if you would pick that one. Oh, we're going into controversial now.
Yeah, we've never really spoken about this before.
Have we been brave enough to talk about this before?
Not yet. We visited somewhere on, what trip was it?
2017.
2017. We actually had a private tour. And this was before it was in the news over here. We didn't even know it was in the news in the States. But it was actually at the time when things were getting really, really big and really serious in the news.
Shall I give the story how it came about?
Yeah, obviously mention about it, but then we'll say where we actually went, unless anyone's already guessed.
Well, basically, Holly, our daughter, was really into cats. She always has been from a young child.
Yep.
If you're guessing where we're going, let us know, leave a comment below. See who gets there first with the first comment. She was really into big cats, right from a small age, wasn't she? We'd go to the zoo, she'd always just go and lay down by the snow leopards.
With a bit of snow leopards or anything.
She's just always been fascinated. So we wanted, you know what it's like, you want to please your children, you want to make their dreams come true. We started reading up about these places where you could go somewhere and hold like a baby tiger and things like that. So as you do, you start researching these places. I was a very active member on the DIB back then, one of these. It's a website, very
forum.
active message board forum where you can find out lots. And they do also have a big section of like off-site activities. And so I got chatting there with people. And there was actually a guy there from the particular place that we went, and there was a big conversation about do not go to these places where you can handle the cats.
Even stroke kind of thing.
Because that's not right. They're there, this is when we started learning more, they are there to take your money. They breed these cats. They take the money from you because it's about $400 each to sit around with lots of other people and get to hold a baby cat. And baby tiger. And then obviously what happens to them when they get too big to handle? They don't want them.
And too costly.
Yep. And he said that cats like that should not be held. And he ended up being from
A Big Cat Rescue.
So yeah, we went to Carol's place.
Yeah,
without realising.
Without realising.
It was before all the news over here.
Well, over here it was there. We hadn't seen anything, hadn't known. In actual fact, it was at the time when things really were getting quite serious over there.
Yeah.
But we have to say, we had it was one of, I think, the best experiences we've actually had of doing something in Orlando.
This guy was actually a member of the DIB. And so he actually...
He was a volunteer, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a volunteer. He actually offered to give us a private tour around.
So we obviously donated.
Yep.
And it was a real eye-opener. I think, put aside to everything that you see in the media, the Netflix programs and everything else, having been there ourselves, it is...
It wasn't what we expected.
It wasn't what we expected. Obviously, we went there with open eyes because we didn't know what was actually going on.
We hadn't heard any news or anything.
But there were things he'd actually said about that they were just continually taking on animals. And it was because of other places that were basically taking on what do you call baby? The
baby cubs.
Cubs, yeah. That's it. And then they didn't want them anymore. So rather than them be basically, say, put to sleep, they would take them. Now, Big Cat Rescue at that point, and for many, many years, do not breed. They just look after them. And they were doing their very best to basically take on as many animals and cats that they can.
It was nearly all tigers as well because of places like, I mean, he brought up to us about Joe Exotic. We hadn't heard of him before. He actually mentioned about...
He mentioned him, didn't he?
Yeah. And
that he was trying to actually make himself almost emulate what Big Cat Rescue were doing and bring them down. So this was all, okay kind of thing. We were just sort of like, it didn't really mean too much at the time. But going around there, it was actually really, really interesting. They were doing everything they could. And I know in some of the programs where they've actually put Big Cat Rescue down, and we're not obviously talking about all the rumours that happened to her, her husband that's now been actually found and is living. Nothing to do with that. This is just to do with the animals. And they do have the pens that they're in. What we call them, pens?
Small,
enclosures.
Enclosures, yeah.
And they are quite small. And for example, I remember watching one of the programs, they said, look. And I think this was actually Joe Exotic was saying, look, they are putting their food in here. This is just this small area for this and this. But what they didn't explain is the fact that they had to do that because there was only so many, or what size they had. They were all legal requirements, the size, but they didn't actually then share to you. They actually had a vacation home, which was how many acres?
Massive.
Was it 2? I mean, it was massive. But basically, every tiger then had the ability to go in this vacation home for 2 weeks.
They rotate them.
And they would never have to handle them. They'd actually built all of the enclosures that they could actually install tunnels, like metal tunnels, wireframe, that the tigers or whichever animal could then make their way into their vacation home. This vacation home had a great big pond, and quite a lot of the time you'd never see them. But then they would rotate them because that then gave them that space, and they gave them equal amounts of time. So you never saw any of that.
This is the thing, because we've watched TV programmes and they've shown like the tiny little bits where they'd go and get their food. They show things like that, but they don't then show the larger part of the enclosures or the great big vacation.
But they also sometimes had things like that, because if they needed to do something with the animal, for example, like treat them or check them over, there was often an area that they didn't have to be handled. They could actually maybe take a closer look without actually physically getting in there with them or being close to them.
Interesting.
And there was the big emphasis on, absolutely, even the no touch at all for anyone, even the volunteers, the people that work there. And it was such an eye-opener. And then
especially once it came out in the news, obviously, long after we'd been, it was, really different having experienced it ourselves. And then you can really see how things get twisted as well, can't you?
You definitely can. So, that for me was a lovely, lovely experience to see. And also the good that they were doing. That's what we saw. Obviously, this was a good...
And we're setting politics aside.
And this was just purely the animal side, and from our point of view, from what we had seen
and
ourselves.
From the volunteers that we spoke to in the news.
So, I mean, we're just doing it, as I said already, from our point of view, but we did thoroughly enjoy it. I mean, I don't know of anyone else that's actually been.
Let us know if you have.
But it was nice for us to learn, and it's kind of given us... a different perspective, especially when we're going to see other places as well that are similar.
Let's actually, after that, let's go on to Wild Florida, because that's one that we had very mixed feelings on. And this was the same year, 2017.
Yeah. Sorry.
The reason that we went to Wild Florida, we actually went for a sloth encounter.
Sloth encounter.
Again, this was for Holly, our daughter, wasn't it? We really loved that. We got there really early in the morning. We got to go in the sloth enclosure. We just got to learn about them, see them up close. It was a really nice experience, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, we really, really loved it.
And then when you go to Wild Florida and you pay for things like this, that also includes the park entrance. So we got then to spend time in the park. But we had very mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, there was the gator show first of all, and that kind of made us feel a little bit funny. I don't know if anyone else has done it before, but it was almost like they were on parade to almost like a circus.
Felt like that with Gatorland as well, I'll add.
But I mean, this obviously we were just seeing things. But what I would say though, and I'm glad we stayed because we were at the point of actually leaving. They did actually say that it is actually a sanctuary there. And generally, some of these gators are ones that have been found in people's pools, in their backyards, in public places. Now, bear in mind, obviously, this is Florida, and I guess we as humans have invaded their space.
Definitely.
But these, obviously, you can't keep wild gators in areas where there are houses and people and children and
they
people.
were big ones, weren't
and
they?
they were big, so they were taken there, and they were basically cared for up until the point where they obviously did pass away. So that kind of made us feel.
And they were really informative.
And they were
yeah.
really informative, and I'm glad we stayed. So it's another thing. I'm glad that we didn't just sort of think, well, there's loads of these gators here, but it was an education again, and so that we did kind of like.
We always try and be open-minded about these things and not judgmental and jump to conclusions. So, like you say, I'm really glad that we stayed and listened to that.
And we are in a different country. We don't have
things
things
are
like
different.
gators at home, so things are different.
Yeah.
But I
we
think
also, going back to Big Cat, we also don't have it where people have tigers and lions as pets, and that's another problem that they have in places like the States where people can, and places then need to take these cats because they're too big for pets and people can't manage them.
Yep.
So again, we don't have that problem in our country. So again, we try and stay sort of non-judgmental with it.
Yeah, and I think in wild Florida, again, I'm sure they were complying to all regulations and things like that. But it was seeing the small enclosures for foxes. I don't think the states get normal. They're almost like foxes we would see in the wild here in the UK.
But
they were tiny, just like concrete. And other animals similar sort of
wallabies.
size.
It was the wallabies that got me in the tiny enclosure, just a concrete ground. There
just
wasn't
nothing. I mean,
just
these
a bit of greenery in there, but there wasn't.
Were small, yeah.
And yeah, it really bothered us. Things may have changed. That was 2017. Again, I don't want to be judgmental.
But then we did see what animal was it that they were walking around the park?
It was a small cat.
It was a cat, so it was obviously
a cub.
Wasn't. I was going to say, I was not saying it was a leopard, but it was a big enough to need to be walked. It was kind of size of a medium-sized dog over here, but on a lead, and they were walking it through. They were obviously taking it from one place to another, but that again just felt a bit. I don't know.
It was the gator as well. You could have a photograph with a small gator, and this woman had a gator with tape wrapped around its mouth, wanting people to have photographs for money. And I sort of said, "Oh, does just out of interest, did the gators get bothered by being taped?" She said, "Don't know." She just didn't seem fussed by it, and
no.
I don't know. We just, when you just have a feeling.
That's our opinion. That's
I
our
know
thoughts.
of friends that have been there and loved it, so things may well have changed. I don't want to be judgmental. That's just the feeling, and I think you can go somewhere and have a completely different experience from somebody else, depending on who you talk to, what you see. Somebody else could go and just have a completely different feeling about it, and things may have improved since then as well.
Yeah.
But that was just our personal experience. We did end up leaving, didn't we?
Yeah, we didn't stay.
It just, I don't know. We just had some bad feelings about the place. But I love the fact that they rescue the gators and give them a home.
That was good because they're obviously been able to see their lives out, which is great.
Should we go on to something a bit happier?
I was going to talk about the beach.
Go on then. You talk about the beach. Which one?
Just going to talk about the beach in general here, because I'm going to then bring in some of these other points as well.
Yep.
Now, we're not really kind of beachy people, but obviously with Florida being where it is, there is plenty of beaches to choose from.
Both sides.
Both sides, but not only both sides, but obviously as you go further down, we were due to do the Keys, one of our last trips, but that didn't happen, unfortunately. But so you've got all those kind of beaches along,
and lots within like an hour or so, hour and a half.
Exactly. So we're kind of talking generally here. There's lots of places to do. There's also nice places if you're just looking for like a couple of days,
or even
a few
just
days, or a night,
afternoon,
or an
something.
afternoon. You can do that, and we have done that. Our first one was like that. Was probably
Clearwater.
Clearwater,
Our
wasn't
first
it?
trip. Yep.
And we just loved that. Just being able to go to the beach, and just see it, really, isn't it?
Kids build sandcastles, walk along the pier.
Yeah, and since then I think we've done Anne Marie Island.
Couple of times.
And again, spending time on the beach there. I think the first time we did it, it was actually quite stormy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was kind of
It was stormy in Orlando, wasn't it? That's where we went for the day.
And although we're not beach people, we love the sort of the quiet. And I'd actually say that Anne Marie Island, it was kind of quiet. And we've obviously been back recently in October, and again had a lovely day there as well. And again, it's just something a bit different. So if someone wants their beach fix, if they're doing a parks trip, again, you can spend a day there, an afternoon, a couple of days. But there's plenty of beaches to choose from. There's Cocoa Beach.
I was going to say as well, it depends what you want. We like the quiet. Anna Maria Island just ticks that box. If you want somewhere a bit more lively, you've got restaurants and a bit like that, then Clearwater is, or like St. Pete's, all along that area. It's just a bit more lively, whereas Anna Maria Island is like no sort of chains or anything like that. It's a much quieter beach escape.
And also for us, as you've seen on the recent trip videos, is St. Augustine.
It's become a favourite of ours now.
And that for us, we absolutely loved.
It ticked all the boxes
and
for us.
For people that aren't beach people, we will be going back.
We loved it.
And we loved it. It's just, yeah, something about it. And I'm sure there are other beaches as well. So please, if you've been anywhere like that, please leave the recommendations, comments below where you've stayed. Again, it's something I know, I'm sure my family, but uncles, my uncle and aunt and their family used to do Florida, but they used to do a week in the parks, and they used to do a week on the beach. And they loved it. So please, leave any kind of where you go, because we've only been to a few.
Yeah, we'd love your recommendations.
Where do you love to go to?
Yeah, that's a good one.
What else should we do?
Airboats. Right, so obviously Wild Florida does airboat trips, but there's lots and lots of other places that do the airboats. We went to one, I think it was 2018 maybe.
We went Wild Willie's, was it?
Yeah, we went to Wild Willie's. It was off the beaten track. You wouldn't have even known there was the airboats there. That was recommended again on the Dib, and we loved it. It was a real quiet one, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was also, the airboats was the sort of the, say, slightly smaller ones. They
why
took
we
about
went there,
8
actually.
people on each, where some of them take a lot more.
I know, like Boggy Creek, they tend to be much larger, don't they? So you could be sat in the middle of people.
So that was one of the reasons why and again, research. I mean, again, these things could have changed since we've done it. So, but again, it was just something different to do, going on the airboats, just to see the wildlife. I think people predominantly going to do it to try and see the gators. But no, we loved that again, didn't we?
Yeah, it's a really good experience. We enjoyed that.
And what else do you want to say? I'm going. I was on top of this.
Go on then.
I'm going to talk about sport events.
Something we haven't done.
We haven't done this, but I've seen there's been plenty of people that I've seen that do. I'm a fan of the NFL. I'm sure there's a lot of other people that go out there doing. I've seen some people do go and see the American football. And obviously there's baseball and also football over there.
And hockey.
And hockey as
well.
My
sister is a big hockey fan. I know that she would love to be able to time it. That's the other thing, is timing it right with the sports events.
It's the season. Like the NFL is also only going to be certain times of the year.
And the football, actually. The soccer.
I did say the football. The football.
Yeah, they call it soccer, don't
they call it soccer. But I do know people that do go out and see that. I'm sure that it's one man's dream. He goes to see Orlando when he's there. I think he tries to watch it. Yeah, so he goes out. I've seen that he's been there. And other people have done other events as well. So that's something else I know that people do, is keep an eye on those events. If there's anything you'd like to see, even maybe if you're not a huge fan, maybe have a look if it's something that interests you.
I was just going to add to that, actually. I'm not really into sport. We went to see the American football in Wembley, and I have to say, I loved it. And I don't even like the sport. But the 3 hours went by so quickly. But the Americans know how to put on a show. And there was no quiet moment. I've been to quite a few of the
football matches over here.
Yeah, I was going to say Formula 1 football matches. What are they called?
Football matches?
Yeah, the Premier League ones.
Yeah.
And what a different experience to the American football. There's like commentary, there's music, there's the kissing one, there's t-shirts. Yeah, there's the cheerleaders, there's shows, t-shirts being blasted into the crowd. There was something happening, even during the game. There's something happening all the time. It was
that was Jacksonville. No, it was Indianapolis Colts versus Jacksonville Jaguars.
The other one I'd be interested to see, actually, is the baseball. Going to see the Tampa Rays. They have actual a Ray tank on the side of the pitch.
And also, this is, again, because I do follow the NFL, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, there's actually a pirate ship in their stadium. And actually the cannon goes off as well. I don't know what point. I don't know if it's the start of the match or when there's a touchdown or something.
That's
but
so funny.
It goes off, but it is. I think it's an
Should
experience.
we do a sports event next time?
We should do. So have you done any sports events? What have you done?
What would you recommend?
And how easy was it as well to actually...
That's a good question, to actually book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to hear.
I'll let you choose now.
Okay, I'm going to go on to... Let's go on to iDrive. We don't have masses of experience on iDrive.
No.
We're more kind of like I was going to say naturists. We like nature.
Nature, outside, not naturists.
Never gone into naturist things, have we?
No.
No. But I was going to say the off-site place we used to stay was like on a nature reserve. That's the kind of thing we like. So iDrive is like the complete opposite of that. It's busy, you've got your restaurants, brilliant if you're not driving, if you don't have a car, because you've got, you know, all your restaurants and everything there.
I think it's a perfect location. We know so many people that do stay there because of that reason.
Yeah.
There's a lot,
You've got the trolleys, there's loads going on. But we have had some fun on there. The very first trip we went to Ripley's, didn't we, with the kids? And then last trip we went to the Titanic, which we loved, which we've already mentioned. There's just lots and lots of things going on, so it could also be a good rainy day activity. We didn't pre-book with Ripley's, we didn't pre-book with Titanic, did we? We just turned up. And then we also went to Icon Park for the first time in October.
Yeah, we'd never been before. We know people that have, and I've seen on Lee and Nick's videos as well, the Tin Roof.
They were the ones that inspired us to go, actually.
And we did actually go there. It was in the afternoon, and we just stopped and had a drink, and there was some live music playing.
Such good atmosphere.
And it was good. I'm glad we did it, and we will go back again.
Definitely
I can
to
imagine the evening being really nice as well.
Really
Nice
up.
atmosphere there.
Yeah, so we'd love to know. iDrive, what do you do along there? What are your favourite places to go? What else would you recommend that we take a look at? Because there's so much around there to see and do.
Because it's somewhere we haven't really done or been to. We could be missing out on something.
Exactly. Let us know what we need to go and see next time. Should we do one that has been on our list to do since 2014 and we've never made it there? That's the citrus farm it's on the 27, isn't it? The I-27, I believe. It looks so cool. It's very outdoorsy. It's a citrus farm. They've got a little shop. You can go fruit picking.
You can buy your fruit there.
Yeah, they have these great big like swamp. What do you call them?
It'd be like monster trucks.
Yeah.
So they can go through the land, which is quite swampy.
You can
in Florida.
Spot the wildlife. The reason we haven't been, it's been on the itinerary and we've just never ended up making it. And then it was the one place our daughter always wanted to go. So obviously she hasn't been with us to the States this past
for a few
couple of years, since 2019.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel right going without her. So we're actually waiting for her to come back on a trip with us. And that's when we plan to go. I know that Lee and Nick did go though.
Yep.
I think they went, was it last year, I think? So if you're interested, go and check out the Lodge Guys because they've got the citrus farm on their channel.
It is somewhere we would like to go. So
but until Holly's joining us again, we won't be going, will we? Because it's her place that she really wants to go to.
There's still plenty of other things we can go and see and do, I think. So yeah. Does that kind of cover the list that we've got there at the moment? I think we've got. I know another thing that people like to do, and is the Old Town Kissimmee. If I said Kissimmee correct, I know that some people.
I don't know.
There, and especially things like is that where the cars are? Or is that on? I know some people go there, and I'm not sure if it's once or twice a week.
My sister really wanted to do that
and
last trip.
People love that, and it does look great. I know it gets busy though. Again, we've not done it. If you've done it, please let us know. Is it worth it? And yeah, I think we almost went one time. We just ran out of time though.
It was on our Anna Maria Island day, and we ended up spending longer in Anna Maria Island.
Yeah, we stayed there till like the sunset, didn't we? So, and it was so nice. And sometimes we have a nice time.
Yeah,
although you might have other plans,
away.
you do need to kind of think, well, okay, I'm having a good time. Why rush around?
Yeah.
So you have to make compromises sometimes.
The other thing actually we have really enjoyed over the years that isn't on the list is Crazy Golf. Golf. We've had some really good times doing the Crazy Golf, haven't we?
Yeah, in actual fact, because they're obviously, I know this is a video about off-site, but there are the Disney ones. If you've got your, do they
I don't know if they do now. It
used to be included. And you got Summer Winterland.
Yeah.
But
and the Fantasia ones.
But also along the 192, there are places along there and iDrive where you've got the Crazy Golf. I know there's one that's right by CC's Pizza on 192.
Yeah.
We never went.
We always
meant to like go maybe one night, one evening, because with the heat out there, it was a case of let's go. It's a little bit cooler because there's no shade, no cover, and especially having the kids when they were sort of little, it was a case of something to do. But we didn't. So
we've done the Disney ones though and loved them, haven't we?
Yeah, it's good fun. Good fun.
Definitely.
So that is something else. That kind of almost brings our list to an end here. So I'm sure there's lots of others. We've kind of just tried to summarise and talk about what we've done and maybe things we'd like to do. But please, if there's anything that you think is worth other people knowing about or us knowing about, please leave the comments below.
Yeah, we'd love to hear what you get up to when you're off-site, the places that you have to go back to every time, celebration for us, and what places have you got on your list that you've never been to but you'd really like to go. We'd love to hear, wouldn't
And
we?
also, does anything that we've mentioned interest you? And if you need more information about anything, any of the points we've said, please just send us a message and we will get back to you as well. Glad to help.
Anyone that we haven't mentioned, any places that you recommend, we'd love to hear as well, where you think we should go next time.
Okay, well, thank you so much for watching.
And we look forward to seeing you in our vlog on Wednesday when we're at Silver Springs and we get to see some very cool wildlife.
So tune in.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you. Bye.